Sometimes, when I'm very angry at my mother, I like to imagine her big and bloodless, and all alone at the bottom of the ocean, like a giant squid. I imagine her in the darkness, in the cold, all her sticky tentacles wrapped tightly around her.
Sea witches, stormy seas, pods of whales, first loves.
Whales, squids, curses, pregnancy, mothers, a hut, disease, a Maori tribe.
Definitely has a range, doesn't it?
I give it points for original subject matter, but, you know, how many books do you encounter that have such heavy whaling themes?
Oh, 1 second. Yar, matey, we have to get the bastard white whale who stole my leg!
Moby Dick?
Yeah. Basically just Moby Dick. So I guess it's about time that somebody dusted off some whales and threw some non-kraken squid at us.
Release the Kraken!
Avery has always wanted to be the Rowe Witch, and it's a role that's been passed down from mother to daughter since dinosaurs have wandered the earth.
Really? That long, huh?
Fine, make it boring. I don't care. It's at least as long as anyone can remember. Avery's only problem is she can't figure out how to activate her powers. She's like, wind, how do I make these things work? Fire!
We're not doing that again.
Always ruining my fun. Back on topic. Avery used to live with her grandmother, the current Rowe Witch, and just when Avery was about to start learning how to use magic, her mother comes in and carts her off, putting a spell on Avery so that she can't break it and that she can't return to the cottage.
Avery's desperate to get back to her grandmother when she meets Tane, who wants her to interpret his dreams. He's looking for clues about the people who murdered his family while he was off exploring the world. He agrees to help Avery break her mother's curse if she helps him interpret his dreams.
But of course, Avery begins falling for all exotic Tane.
And of course, Avery is not going to like what she has to do to activate her star powers.
Really? Sailor Moon?
Come on. But of course, there is one more thing that Avery has to worry about.
You're gonna die!
Avery's dream has predicted her death, and she desperately wants to stop it. Her only hope is to become the Rowe Witch, because no one can kill the Rowe Witch. But she also knows that she can't change her fate. So, how do we describe Avery?
Well, she's angrier than the Hulk in tight pants.
Yeah, that really about sums it up. All she wants to do is to become the Rowe Witch, and the only thing her mother won't let her do is to become the Rowe Witch. The whole island wants her to become the Rowe Witch. So it's like mixing teen angst with some coke, some gunpowder, a healthy dose of rocket fuel, shaking it all up for good measure, and then absent-mindedly applying a match.
Even before the death prediction, Avery really wanted to be the Rowe Witch, and her reasoning for that wasn't always sound. She says she wants to help the people of the island, but she barely even knows the people of the island. They're really just like a faceless mob waiting for a particularly large shipment of pitchforks and torches to come in.
Avery is strong. She knows what she wants. But all of the angst.
How could this happen to me?
Tane is interesting, but in a more abstract way than anything else. He has a fascinating backstory where he was an island native who wanted to explore the world. His whole reason for showing up in Avery's life was because he wants her to interpret his dreams. He's desperate to get revenge on the sailors who killed his family, and he thinks of it kind of as a cure for his heartache.
Of course, we know how this goes. Avery shows him that revenge won't make him happy and blah blah blah. She changes him, blah blah blah. They fall in love. He's kind of whatever the plot needs him to be.
The best thing I could come up with to describe him is that kind of overused cliche, but really pretty Bible verse which goes, "Love is peaceful, love is kind."
But for a YA novel, Avery's mother plays a surprisingly large role as the most obvious antagonist. And just the supplier of interesting relationshipness. Think of her as a reverse Rapunzel.
Mother knows best.
Reverse Rapunzel because you know, even though Avery doesn't, that her mother really does know best. You can guess that her mother isn't just doing this for youth and beauty. It's amazing that Avery can't see that, and it's amazing that she can't see that she's also hurting her mother.
You're left in this weird, well-written position where you want her to break free from this curse, but at the same time, you know it's a bad idea. It's clear that her mother loves her a ton, and not in the creepy, I want to sew buttons on your eyes kind of way.
Black is traditional.
Avery is unable to do magic. It's her Achilles heel, so we don't get a lot of hocus pocus throughout the book. In fact, the one really big act of magic we get is given away at the beginning of the book.
Avery can divine the meaning of dreams. And most of the witchcraft here is very subtle in this book, like charms and potions and classy witchy stuff made out of stuff from the sea to make sure your boats don't sink and your barrels don't leak.
Tane's magic is the magic we see the most in this book, and it's the exact opposite of the witchy Rowe stuff. A lot of the magic works through tattoos.
So how powerful do you think Adam Levine is?
Town girl. But I mean, it is a really cool idea. People have been getting tattoos pretty much as long as we've had pointy sticks and ashes. Tattoos generally have a greater significance, whether it be a symbol of prowess in your culture or just a personal significant thing. Occasionally they're just a reminder of that one time in high school where you thought getting a burn or a tattoo would be a really good idea, but most of the time they really just have a greater significance.
Getting a tattoo is about taking control, and what is more controlling than magic?
Avery needs the controlling aspect of magic because the tagline in the book should have been,
If you had the chance to change your fate, would you?
Avery is very concerned about the whole not dying thing, even though she knows that no one can change their fate. And thankfully the rule sticks.
spoiler,
Hey, it's not a spoiler because they don't know how it comes to pass.
is fate fate if it's changeable? I mean, isn't that like the exact opposite meaning of fate?
I don't know, I guess it's changeable if it's a prediction? Is there a word for changeable not fate?
Oh, no. The fate themes in the book are the most solid themes. The whale theme is a little shaky. Avery's island is obsessed with whales. One of my favorite passages in the book actually deals with how dependent they are on the whaling industry. They wash with whale, they comb their hair with it, they light their houses with it, they ingest it, wear it, keep dry with it. If whale were a boy band, they would poster their room with it, talk to the posters, and then whisper goodnight to it, and then scream hysterically whenever they saw the whales in person. It just keeps the island alive.
Obviously, Avery is supposed to be the whale. The town depends on the witches as much as they depend on the whales. And in her nightmare, Avery is literally a whale. It's a good metaphor, it just doesn't get taken far enough. It takes half the book for Avery to stop and think, oh, yeah, I like whales. And then she never thinks about it again. She goes off and helps the whalers and doesn't give it a second thought.
Kind of falls flat, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Despite the strained whale metaphor, Kulper clearly did a lot of research into the whaling industry. I had zero idea that whales went into so many products, and I had zero idea that they had actually set up a do not hire list for the whalers. You come out of this book feeling a little more knowledgeable, and you know why? Because there hasn't been a teen book about whaling before.
I'm not exactly sure how I feel about Salt and Storm. There were a lot of things I liked about it. The whaling, the tattoos, the native issues, the strong heroine, the mother thing. And there was an equal amount of things that I thought needed a little bit more work, like Avery's raging temper, her sometimes overbearing raging anger, the themes, and Tane.
But on the bright side, it did remind me of a lot of things I like. Practical magic for one, and it also felt like my two favorite books had a love child.
Despite its flaws, this was a good, solid debut novel by Kendall Kulper, and I would definitely be interested in reading more by her.
Well, good news. Prequel!